It's 2 o'clock, yet another Tuesday. Welcome to Generation C, the show that aims to inspire the youth. I am Hanshu Kapofi.
And I'm Jamie Lee Loss. Generation C consists of 3 segments, namely The Zone, School Corner, and Varsity Chat Room.
The Zone is published every Tuesday in the Namibian Sun, the Algemeine Zeitung, as well as the Republican. Let's take a look at what is happening in The Zone this week.
Well, today in studio we're joined by Konrad Marais. He is a triathlon athlete, but there are a few changes that were made in the Zone publication, as the publication was reduced to only 4 pages. But do not worry, as we still do have all our segments in place, and we will be keeping you updated on our websites. So do stay tuned and keep an eye open.
Yes, so let's get into the publication. On the front page of The Zone today, we of course have Konrad Marais, who is a triathlon athlete who dominated the latest Africa Championships and is looking to trade in his South African colors for a chance to represent the land of the brave. Marais works hard to balance his training and his full-time work as a lawyer. Let's take a look.
On page 2, we take a look at an article on the youth calling for revitalized democracy in digital age to increase youth civic participation. Then we take a look at our photo of the week. We have a picture of the under-16 Namibia rugby team selected to take part in the Grand Como Week in South Africa. How impressive is that?
Very, very impressive. I'm really excited for that one.
Now we take a look at our Vox Pop, where the My Zone team asked or approach university students to find out if they think that their university takes their mental health into consideration when setting up an exam timetable. Let's hear what they had to say.
I believe that universities do not consider students' mental health when they are setting up exams. Because how can you set up exams so close to each other, one after another, day after day after day? A person cannot really cope like that. And we shouldn't be rushed just because the university's time is running out for the semester. Planning should be done accordingly beforehand.
My name is Esther Nyanyukeni Hakara. I'm a second-year middle student at the University of Namibia. I think it's a 50-50 because some of the students wrote there are gaps between their modules, and some students wrote like modules after module. And I personally think setting up my examination table, it's one of the toughest time for me to be in university because it brings me a lot of anxiety, thinking that I'm not going to make it due to the number of modules that I have registered for, or maybe my post-examination experience is like writing a module after the other. And yeah.
On page 3, we have an informative feature titled A Country Plagued by Poverty. And on page 4, which is of course our sports page, we have an article on the Trusco United netball team that returned to the courts this weekend after a 5-year break at the 2022 derby between Trusco United and the FNB Wanderers.
Also on page 4, we take a look at gold medalist Christine Boma, who has been receiving extra encouragement from Marathon Sugar Namibia in preparation for the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris. Also, now we're going to head on to our website news, which is something new because I know you guys are used to having everything in print, but we are evolving. So for our website news, we have an article on the Namibian Arts Association that organized an exhibition of unique art inspired by the predicament of the pangolin. It's part of a project by the Namibian Pangolin Working Group. It is established in 2020 and is a network of concerned government and non-government organizations that have been working at various levels towards the welfare of the animals, those seized from the trade, as well as improving the safety and conservation of the pangolin in the wild. Wow, that was quite an interesting Zone edition because it was different because it only has 4 pages.
Of course, and it's very informative.
It was. I mean, it's a small publication, but it gave us quite a lot of information. So That was a good one. But now we move on over to our school corner. Welcome to School Corner, where we talk about all things schools, even though the school kids are on holiday. Well, I'm super excited to find out who the star teacher is for this week.
And I'm super excited to, of course, touch into the school focus for this week. Now, for this week's school focus, we, of course, have Roots Gymnasium, which is a school that is located in Stampreet. Now, the school is based on Christian values and accommodates 107 learners at the moment. Let's take a look at what is going down at Roots Gymnasium.
Good morning, my zone, and you're more than welcome at the Gymnasium.
Ek persoonlik kan nie onthou wanneer laas ek in skool of se kantoor was nie, want as ek moet onthou was dit niks goed nie. As ek kantoor toe geroep was dit 'n storie van ja, Brian het die gedoen, Brian het daai gedoen. Dit was nooit 'n storie van ja, Brian vat hierdie of. Maar kom ek vra gou 'n bietjie. Sê gou vir my, wat maak julle se skool so spesiaal?
Kyk, ons het ons skool se deure in 2021, die 27ste Januarie oopgemaak. Toe het ons begin met 37 leerlinge. En ons skool het gegroei, ons staan vandag op 107 leerlinge. Wat ek dink wat ons skool baie spesiaal maak, is dat ons die wêreldse tegnologie na die platteland toe gebring het. En dit maak ons baie spesiaal. En ons het ook gaan kyk, wat kan ons bied vir ons kinders wat anders is as ander skole. Daarom het ons musiekwaardering ingebring. So ons kinders leer van graad 1 af, van ta, 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 ta. En hulle om musiekinstrumente te bespeel en om ritme te hou terwyl hulle sing. En dan het ons perdry, en as jy net na perdry gaan kyk, wat alle voordele inhou vir 'n kind, is dit regtig baie. Dan bied ons ook stoei aan vir kinders. Ons bied robotics aan, rekenaarvaardighede, en so kan ons dit aangaan en aangaan. En ek dink regtig, dit is wat ons baie spesiaal maak. En ons is op pad om 'n landbouskool, die landbouskool in die suidelike halfrond te word. So ons gaan baie fokus op landbou. Ons het reeds begin. Ons is in ons beginskoene, kinderskoene van die landbou, maar ons het 'n visie ook dat ons van graad 5 af nou hierdie landbou het ons reeds implementeer, en ons gaan ook later dan 'n universiteit hê waarheen leerlinge kan gaan om verder hulle in die landboubedryf te kwalifiseer.
Van ons die opkomry gestel ons bietjie en sê, as jy klein karriere het, sal jy dit nie maak op hierdie pad, veral as dit nou miskien reën, van 'n net klomp klippe en al daai. Hoe kom kinderskool toe?
Ons het 3 bussies wat hardloop. Die een bussie is hardloop naweke Arrenos toe, en die 2 bussies kom van Mariental af. So ons het 'n 23-seater en 'n 14-seater wat van Mariental af kom, en as ons dis heelpad teerpad, en as ons hier op die grondpad draai, dan moet ons maar net 20 km/h ry, sodat ons kar nie uitmekaar het kan skud nie. Elke kind, soos wat ek vir gesê het, hanteer ek asof dit my eie kind is. So die kinders, my deur staan altyd oop, en die kinders kom hier in en ek sê net gou, hallo juffrou, hoe gaan dit? En kan ek maar hier uithaal, dan 'n hele sak sweeties. En dan kom haal hulle net gou vir hulle 'n sweetie. Maar dan moet hulle eers vir my sê, wat het hulle gedoen vandag wat baie positief is? Het sy met sy skoolwerk of het sy met teenoor 'n ander kind? Wat het hy gedoen wat 'n ander ou laat smile het vandag? En dan sy 'n champ, en dan mag hy lekker kry.
Okay, ek self, ek glo ek is 'n champ, En ek glo ek kan miskien ook 'n sweetie kry van ek was lank
Die
toe.
kantoor nie, kry ons net sweeties. Want ons hanteer ons kinders met soveel waardigheid dat ons so 'n oop verhouding het dat as indien ietsie skeef geloop het, kan ons dit so maklik uitsorteer dat dit nie 'n groot issue raak nie.
Then we take a look at our star teacher, which I've been waiting for. She is Desiree Aces, English and Afrikaans teacher at PK de Villiers at Keetmanshoop.
Well, that was all we had for you in today's School Corner. Do remember that if you want to see our star teacher, if you want to see the school focus, you'll of course need to head over to the MyZone website because this is the only place where you can catch them.
And don't forget to continue sending us amazing content for School Corner and do subscribe to our Telegram channels. We're going to have our fun interview with
Konrad Marais. Let's head over.
So this is my first time ever on Generation C, and I'm so excited to have triathlete. I've just learned that that is indeed the correct word. We have triathlete Konrad Marie with us in studio today. Konrad, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So Konrad, tell me a little bit. You are originally from South Africa,
Yes.
and you take part in triathlon competitions for South Africa,
Yes.
but you are now based in Namibia.
Yes.
How exactly did that happen?
Well, I started triathlon when I was in university, and so I got into the local KZN mix. I was from Natal, so I was representing Natal, and then made the South African team and represented them once or twice. And then I moved to Namibia because I just felt like the living conditions, the safety and security was much better here. But I'm still South African by citizenship. I've not applied for citizenship in Namibia. I've got permanent residency because my mom was born here. And so I currently still go back to South Africa to compete in SA Champs, to make the team, to represent them overseas whenever there's World Champs. But I participate in all the Namibian events because that's local and that's fun.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so tell me a little bit about that moment. If you go read this week's edition of The Zone, you'll know that Conrad's father is also a triathlete. Tell me a little bit about that moment where you were like, this is the sport I should do. You know, forget running and cycling and swimming individually. I should mash them up together.
Yes.
What was that moment?
That moment was, if you were asking me to ignore them from the individual sports that I did for fun, the triathlon thing came for satisfying the competition urge.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said to you before, triathlon allows you to compete in 3 different disciplines. So even if there's another guy with a greater natural swimming talent than me, he's going to have to compete with my greater natural running talent over him. And so for the sake of competing at an age of 30, 35, 60, and without having to be so good that you go to Olympics and so on, I did triathlon. There's always races for triathletes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fantastic. So, Conrad, your father shared a very, very precious moment with me. He told me about your first triathlon where you didn't fully release your bike before taking off your helmet. And then the second triathlon, Mr. Konrad Marie over here decided he was going to run the whole distance with his helmet. What exactly was going through your mind?
Okay, this is a fun story. Well, first you need to know that the rules of triathlon state actually this is the most important rule of triathlon. There are a lot of rules, but this one is you can't be on your bike inside the transition zone, which is the zone where you transfer from your wetsuit after the swim to your bicycle before the cycle, or from your bicycle to your running shoes after the cycle. You can't, in that zone, be on your bike. You have to be next to it, on the floor. They can't have people cycling around in the transition zone where other people are running. It just creates dangerous circumstances. And the second rule is you can't touch your bike if you don't have a helmet on. So that people aren't still fiddling with their helmets one-handedly, trying to put it on in the ride. That's also dangerous. Distracts you, and you might crash without your helmet fully fastened. So you're not allowed to touch your helmet without your bike. Now, I didn't know this at my first triathlon. I was taking it off in transition zone after I'd gotten off my bike, but I hadn't racked my bike yet. So I was still touching it, holding it, pushing it. And I was taking my helmet off, and this official, this marshal, was shouting at me and the guy behind me very rudely, saying to us, keep your masks, your helmets on. Keep your helmets on. And I was just instantly so offended by the tone he was using. I decided, no, I'm going to take it off. Now I'm going to definitely take it off. Yeah. And then they disqualified me. So at the next race, I thought, okay, today I'm going to be petty. And instead of taking my helmet off too soon after the cycle, I decided I'm going to keep my helmet on for the duration of the race. So I ran with my helmet on for the whole 10K running leg and finished it. And then the race director came to me and said, listen, this might be your first triathlon, but you're actually supposed to take your helmet off before you go on a run. And I was just, okay, I learned that lesson. Didn't tell him about me just being spiteful. Yeah, that's what that was.
So was there ever a moment while you were running this long distance that you were like, dang it, I should have taken off the helmet?
No, I was enjoying it. People were laughing at me, pointing at me. You know, it was obviously a joke.
Yeah.
I could see that they were seeing it as a joke. And just the self-satisfaction was enough to me to not care about how I looked. I knew I was getting them back in my own way for disqualifying me in the race before. I enjoyed it. My family was there to support, and it will ever be a little highlight.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so on that highlight, we are going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Konrad. And we're back with triathlete Konrad Marais. Konrad, we just spoke about how you got into triathlon as a sport and, you know, your first sort of more comical moments in the sport. Tell me a little bit, now that you're sort of in it and you really have to be doing it, how do you balance your full-time work, having a wife, having a dog, and doing triathlon?
That's quite difficult. You never balance it perfectly because it's just a give and take. And for a competitor, and especially a personality A-type, perfectionist-minded person, it's difficult because you want to give everything your perfect attention, but you have to realize that's not possible. If you do it for fun, it's totally manageable. You can have a lot of fun in triathlon, especially with the short distances, with 7 hours of training a week. But ideally, I'd like to do 12 to 15 hours of training a week, and I just can't get there with work and having to also give my wife the time that she needs. So I get by with about 10 to 12 hours, and I go train during lunch times. I go train for an hour and a half directly after work whilst my wife walks the dog, and they have their fun as well. And then we come together for dinner. And on the weekends I go for an early morning 3 to 4 hour ride. And by the time I'm back, she's woken up and we can go for brunch or do something fun. So making sure that you work productively at work so that you can slip away when you need to and not spend hours there is something I try and employ best to get around to my training time. And otherwise just training at certain times of the day where other people are busy and it allows me to.
Okay, fantastic. So what do you see in your future in triathlon?
I've had a lot of fun. I'm trying very hard to do very well this year in the Durban Half Ironman again, but doing well at events is not necessarily my future in triathlon. Giving back to people getting into it, helping the committees that organize races and that put them together, like the Namibian Triathlon Federation, that's, I guess, where my future lies. And sponsoring when I'm a bit more well off and I can sponsor gear to lesser triathletes, because I was one of them. We've always been well off, but it's still an expensive sport and I still needed gear at times, and so I know what it feels like. So giving back is, I guess, where my future lies.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us
Pleasure.
today, Konrad.
Pleasure.
That was triathlete Konrad Marie.
with all that's happening in the schools in Namibia, let's take a look at what's happening in the universities.
Well, for this week's Varsity Chat Room, we of course head over to our Varsity Corner where we focus on a student from IUM who is of course an SRC. Shikesha Natangwe is a 24-year-old student representative council vice president of the International University of Management, IUM, and the secretary of higher education within the Students' Union of Namibia, SUN. He was born and raised in the northern part of Namibia in a small village called Lipanda, which is located in the Ongongo constituency. Well, of course, that was all we had for you on the Varsity Chat Room, and not only the Varsity Chat Room, but here at Generation C. It was, of course, a pleasure being with you guys today, and I hope you guys had a great one.
It was super, super fun, but you know what? Ons moet gaan. Catch us next week Tuesday, same time, same place.